Hey, what's up everyone? How you doing? It's me, Mr. 4K Upscaler. So, saving Private Ryan 4K HDR via Apple TV 4K. A lot of people have been asking me, you have never done a picture settings, recommended picture settings for 120 inch BenQ saving Private Ryan 4K HDR Apple TV 4K version. I have done a Oppo UDP 4K UHD Blu-ray version, but I have never done a Apple TV 4K version. So first thing first, I want to show you the first step that you need to do before you start messing around with the picture settings for this BenQ HT-2550 projector. What projector am I talking about? Well, this one right here. That projector right there. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump into a Apple TV 4K settings, and let me show you the first step that I want you to do. This is my recommendation. So the first thing I want you to do is go to the settings and go to video and audio. And then here's the most important part. This should be your very first part you need to do. Right here, the match content. Keep the match dynamic range on and the match frame rate on. What does this mean? This means that the film will play at its original frame rate, and dynamic range of the HDR will play at its original encoded high dynamic range metadata. So you always turn these two on, always turn them on, leave it on. That should be your mandatory first thing to do. Once you do that, your format will be automatically selected to 4K HDR, and your chroma will be selected to 420. Now, this only stays at 420 when you are on the user interface. When you click on a movie, it's going to change from 420 to 422, depending on what type of HDMI are you using. I'm using a Belkin HDMI, so therefore it's going to switch to 422. All right, so next step is going to be obviously the picture settings. Now, brightness should always be at 50, guys, because you're using a projector. You're not using a LED backlit television. You're not using OLED. You're using a projector, okay? So projector already has got enough lumens light that's projecting that light, so leave the brightness at 50. Also, same thing with the contrast. You already got your contrast ratio from that projector that's being projected. So leave the contrast at 50. The color, I left the color at 63 because I felt that leaving the color at 63, because this TV has that nice Rec 709 color accuracy with the color wheel. It's a DLP color wheel. It produces a really nice colors. Okay, so I felt maybe moving it up a little bit, not too much, but 63 is just the right amount that I felt it should be. Tint, you never leave it at 50. I mean, you never go above 50 or below 50. It's like that movie Speed. Don't go below 50, don't go above 50. Keep it at 50 balanced. Sharpness, I felt leaving it at 8 because I want to get as much as possible clarity on this big 120-inch screen. And that's pretty much what I'm using here, guys. All those other filters, I turned it off, guys. There's a bunch of filters on this projector. I don't recommend using any of those filters. If you use any of those filters, all you're going to do is you're going to oversaturate, and you're going to outline the pixel sharpness, whatever you need each pixel. Do not use these other filters. They're available. It's a bunch of gimmick. Don't use it. Okay, so now let's see how it looks. So these are the settings that I'm using pretty much. This is it. Really simple, Really simple. And one more thing before we go to the final test. Guys, when it comes to the color on this projector, keep it at normal. Don't go warm, don't go cold, keep it at normal. Keep it in a balanced value. Trust me. Balanced value is where you want to be. And last but not least, color gamut should be on automatic. Let the Apple TV decide and this projector decide what's the best color gamut to be outputted. Okay, that's where you should leave it. Leave it on automatic. So that's it pretty much, guys. That's all there is. That's all she wrote. That's it. Pause the video, check it out, write it down. Remember, you gotta have this projector, you gotta have BenQ HT-2550 in order for this to work. This is really for Saving Private Ryan. So, let's see how this movie looks, shall we? Now remember, this movie was shot in a certain tone of color to give you that old footage of World War II documentary where the camera is shaking. They're using shaker lenses. Shaker lenses is something that Steven Spielberg really invented. And everybody else, after Saving Private Ryan, everybody else started using it. Even Ridley Scott started using shaker lenses. So shaker lenses is something that Steven Spielberg invented with this movie. And it works quite well. I mean, it really looks good. You really get to see the detail on the soldiers, the sand, on the boots, on the backpack. You can tell a difference between the colors of different materials. So these barricades right here and that rifle, you can definitely tell the color of that rifle. So definitely, you know, in my opinion, this movie and the picture settings that I gave you it's something that you have to see for yourself. You have to try it for yourself to see what I'm talking about, you know. It's difficult for a camera to capture this unless you actually use these settings and see it for yourself. Same thing here. Clearly you can see that ball of fire ignite, and clearly you can see beautiful definition of the color and the reflection. No, this projector, BenQ really does a great job with HDR. It also does a great job with enhancing the quality, the sharpness, the picture detail. But what it really does a great job is the color gamut. This projector probably, in my opinion right now, has the best color gamut I have seen on any projector. That color wheel that they put in on this DLP really does a great job, guys. And I think that's why it's so expensive, because of that HDR. Not so much the pixel shifter, but the HDR. Sure, pixel shifter definitely helps, but it's really the HDR that is the big kicker here. And of course, here clearly you can see just how beautifully the reflection of the ignition of the fire and all these soldiers are coming out of this little tiny boats are burning. You can see the reflection on the beach. It really looks nice. You know, again, this is something you have to see for yourself. But I truly believe that you guys are going to appreciate these settings that I just gave you for this is Apple TV. This is being streamed. This is not a 4K UHD Blu-ray. Of course, 4K UHD Blu-ray is better, has a much higher bitrate. But this is pretty good for Apple TV 4K. And I think you will enjoy, if you have a BenQ HT-2550, I think you guys are going to enjoy these settings. I will also try out other projectors with this movie to see what I can do for a budget projector. But as you can see, clearly it looks good. Well, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to see you on the live stream next. Thank you. Cheers. Have a good one. just to give you a little bit more better detail so you can see what I'm talking about. Again, camera cannot capture what my own two eyes retina can capture, so you'll just have to try these settings and make sure that you have a BenQ HT-2550. Okay, if you don't have a BenQ HT-2550, obviously then this video is pointless for you to watch. You gotta have this projector, okay? I'll see you guys in the live stream. Take care. Cheers.